A second. Okay.
All right, we officially call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Welcome, everybody. We don't have the flags with us, so I apologize. We'll work on getting the flags brought down here because with this number of people, I feel more comfortable meeting here at the community center than I do at City Hall. I think the council chambers are too small for us to social distance. We'll work on bringing them down so we can do the pledge of allegiance next time. So, could we have roll call, please, for me?
Councilmember Amesbury.
Here.
Councilmember Huff.
Here.
Councilmember Heller.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Iverson.
Here. Thank you. And first up, we have a presentation tonight with Lynette Buffington from Greater Grays Harbor, and we put this copy around of the slide presentation, I believe. Everyone get one of these? So Lynette, are you there? Are you ready?
Oh, I'll have her muted. Here we go.
Oh, just a second.
Hey there.
There we are.
So were we going to do a share screen on this, or I didn't even know you guys were actually meeting in person. So Todd, was that what we were going to do?
No, we're buffering.
Oh, never mind. Let's not do the share screen. I think buffering is awful. Okay. There's a sky out there.
Todd, what is your preference?
Okay, there we go.
Let me see if I can share.
Well, if they all have it, and I could just go to my presentation and just prompt myself through it as they go along, I guess, and not worry about the screen, it sounds like.
Sure.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody then?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
yep, it's nice to meet you in this very unconventional fashion. I joined Greater Grays Harbor Inc. in July, mid-July, so I haven't been on the ground very long, and I certainly haven't met many people in person. So it's refreshing to see you guys all actually as a group. It's nice. I also have Grant Jones, who is the Director of Business Development at Greater Grays Harbor, and most importantly or relevant is that he was also the interim during the transition between Drew Garson and myself. So I welcome him on the line, and he can offer maybe more depth of information if there's some questions that happened before I arrived. So as you know, we have a municipal service agreement with the city. And in that municipal service agreement, we have some 4 key areas that we work on. Providing the COVID-19 business assistance and relief, developing the economy and promoting local business, and also investing in tomorrow's leaders. When we look at the work we did in the city of McClary, 2 of McClary's businesses are members of GGHI. We have provided 13 businesses one-on-one assistance. We've been involved with 2 business recruitment projects that represented up to 30 jobs. The capital expenditure, or the CapEx, represented between 5 to 10 million. On our online web directory of businesses in Grays Harbor, businesses in McClary have been viewed 393 times, and consumers have directly clicked out to those business pages, those individual businesses, on 33 occasions. Like you've been navigating the COVID-19 business assistance and relief era, or decade as it seems like in some regards. We've done a lot of business assistance, grants, promoting the programs, and of course, checking in with folks and seeing how they're doing. Excuse me. In regards to the business assistance, we've helped 268 businesses throughout the county. A lot of that was helping folks navigate the relief options, or what the funding applications were, or the rules and regulations about reopening, and what they had to do to be compliant. We also checked in with folks just to see if there was any major issues coming down the pike related to layoffs, and worked to mobilize any type of rapid response. The breakdown of the types of businesses and the sectors that we helped the most, as you can see, retail was the highest need, food and bev, not surprisingly, shortly behind that, and then services coming up a close third. When we talk about business assistance, it really is one-on-one support to a business. There's a quote here from a local business owner in Cosmopolis, and this really articulates the kind of support we offer folks. when they pick up the phone and they call us. We can help them navigate the obstacle, figure out the next step, or connect them to the right person. As you know, we were involved in several types of small business grants. The first one was done in June. We put out about $185,000, and according to Commerce, we saved probably 90 jobs in the county. We were able to fund 30 businesses. Just at the top of this month, we had our second round of Working Washington with $151,000, and that is in review right now. Those applications are in review. And what was unique and special about this one is that we were allowed to provide relief aid to other chambers, business districts, business associations, and tourism, some types of tourism organizations. And then coming up here very soon, in partnership with the county, we'll be doing micro enterprise grants to businesses with 5 or less employees, and also partner with Enterprise for Equity for some technical assistance to those businesses. And this is just hot off the presses this week, as we'll be helping the city of Elma administer business relief grants throughout the next 6 weeks and closing by the end of November. So we've been busy with all the grants. Some of the things we did to promote the grants, because it was so confusing and there was information coming so quickly and changing at such a rapid pace, we created a COVID-19 resource page with over 5,000 views. We did over 100 social media posts during that time to educate businesses and the general public about what was going on with COVID-19. And then in our Harbor Insider, which I hope you are all subscribers to, you can go to our website and be a subscriber. But we sent out to over 1,000 subscribers at least 18 different emails informing them of how to navigate the relief. While we can't take full credit for all the Paycheck Protection loans that came into the area, we are proud of the work we did in promoting the program and helping businesses navigate it. And there was close to $86 million in Paycheck Protection loans put into the county. We also checked in with folks to figure out how they were feeling about things, dug into some demographics and their projections and anticipation of what was going to happen to their business. We did that in May and June. We also, I don't think we have a chat box here, but we did a blog post with a summary of those findings, and we shared that on our website. We can get that to you. We also shared the surveys as they came out with local leadership, and we're getting ready to send another one out where we start asking businesses how they're doing, what they project to happen, and we look forward to sharing that with you as well. A big part of our role is obviously developing the economy. A key area there in that scope of work is business retention and expansion. Given everything we had to deal with this year, with businesses being shut down, due to regulatory environment, we were able to still visit 60 businesses on site, get to know them, figure out what they needed, connect them to local resources, and we're really excited when we're able to do those things. We also worked on entrepreneurial development or business trainings. Both the retail business boot camp in March and the marketing your business despite COVID-19 were incredibly relevant given the times we were going through. We look forward to ramping up more of these on a regular basis in 2021. And of course, we talk about attracting businesses to the harbor. We work with employers that are pursuing this area, or considering this area, I guess, as a place for their next location. We really work with some major stakeholders, primarily the Washington State Department of Commerce, the Port of Grays Harbor, and of course the PUD. When we look at 2020 as a whole, we were involved in 14 recruitment projects with the CapEx representing $450 million and close to 1,000 jobs. A couple projects to note that are still active or live would be an affordable housing manufacturer with up to 175 jobs. That program is still active. And then a PPE manufacturer with up to 140 jobs. And this program is, this project is still short funded, but what's important to note is that it got the attention of the governor, and we were able to help facilitate $250,000 funding from the governor's strategic reserve fund into the program. Todd, I just saw a screen share. Do you want me to do anything with that? Okay, I'm just going to keep going. People can hear me, yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself. I'm horrible.
That's all right. Just as long as I'm just not talking to my empty cabin, right? Because my cabin's heard enough of this. And so I am on slide 18, the tourism development slide. I don't know if you shared with everybody. So one thing that I'm not sure everybody knows we're involved in is we do work on tourism development. We produce original content to encourage tourism in the area. We want to make sure businesses connect with the customers and vice versa. And we also act as a liaison for the Washington State Filmworks to facilitate filming and production inquiries into the area. And I want to just spend a second talking about how we create original content, and connect businesses. We have an online directory, and I'm going to get into it here in a second, but we have taken the food and bev industry and the lodging industry, and regardless of membership status with the organization, they are listed in our online directory because we're really trying to promote those resources. If you're advancing now, Todd, you can go to next slide.
Yeah, it shows up on my screen, but the other screen it doesn't show up, so I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna pretend everybody's looking at paper. Got it. So if you're looking at paper, you are seeing this really lovely picture of a surfer with our Discover Grays Harbor blog. So our whole tourism segment is the Discover Grays Harbor, which is both Facebook and Instagram. And then this great blog with things like top 10 things to do, where to eat, where to stay. And again, we want to make it the one-stop shop for folks coming into the harbor. And that is why we list all the food and beverage industry establishments and lodging establishments, regardless of their membership status, on that directory. On our whole directory this past year, we've had over 39,000 visits to the directory and referred out over 1,800 times directly to business websites. And then, of course, we love to promote local businesses. You may have seen some of our efforts with the Say Yes to Local campaign, which is these little H-stake signs that folks picked up at our office and tried to promote that they were open and they were local. We knew we were having a lot of folks come into town from counties with different rules and restrictions, and we wanted to make sure folks had a way to promote that they were open and they were looking for customers. Of course, we have our what I call our signature events, and we're able to do some of our major ones in the first couple months of the year. But as things changed, we really focused on programming that was relevant to what was going on. So we had speakers from the congressional level to talk about CARES Act relief and other forms of relief, public health discussions, and of course, we had an education, childcare, and workforce discussion as school started. We're just finishing up our partnership, a multi-week partnership with KXRO, where we did candidate forums that were broadcast live both on our Facebook and KXRO's Facebook. And I think the last one is tomorrow night, but they can all be found either on either of those Facebook pages I referenced in just the history, or going directly to KXRO, their website, and you can find the archive. And that was for commissioner races, legislative races. We're also back out in the communities promoting businesses last year, or with ribbon cuttings and business milestones. Last year, we were able to do 50, which was just tremendous. We got 3 done before things started to get shut down, but then but sadly, we had 7 to cancel. So we thought we were going to be on track to beat that 50. This year, we're back out in the community again. So if you know of any businesses that want to celebrate reopening, opening for the first time, new name, anything like that, we'd love to come out and do a ribbon cutting or some sort of celebration with them. And of course, we invest in tomorrow's leaders, who is going to be leading Grays Harbor County and for generations to come. But with both Leadership Grays Harbor, which is a 6-month course on leadership principles, and we partner with Grays Harbor College. One thing to note with this one, we had 16 graduates. These are folks that in the middle of this great program, they all ended up going into remote locations. They could not gather, but we're really proud that 16 folks finished the program during a highly stressful time, and were able to build their leadership skills and their sense of community. It is the participants are both from the public and private sector. And of course, we have the Greater Grays Harbor Foundation, and much of this funds youth-based workforce development, workforce training type programs. A lot of these programs shuttered once school started to shut down, so our distribution of funds wasn't as high as typical as in past years, but we were able to get $4,500 out to both Aberdeen High School Business Week and Grays Harbor Youth Works. And as an incorporated model that does both economic development and chamber membership, as expected, we did have a small dip in membership. We also gave folks a 3-month dues holiday so they can focus on their primary investments, their primary, urgent needs financially. And coming very shortly, we'll be announcing a member dues relief fund to allow folks that want to stay involved in the organization, but the dues are presenting them with a financial hardship or some sort of hard decision that they don't want to make. And as I said earlier, it's for a lot of our members, if they leave our organization, they lose their presence on the web. So we want to keep them engaged and keep them having a web presence so they can be found. 2021, we're going to continue to enhance those features that we offer our members, especially those digital features to engage with customers. We just released a couple features just 2 weeks ago that are of note. Members can now post jobs, they can post their member news, and they can post coupons. Or some sort of hot deal, something to engage the general public to come into their business. Looking forward into 2021, we're focused, of course, on economic development as a pathway to economic recovery and rebound. We're celebrating and bringing awareness to the value of buying local and keeping dollars in the harbor. We're going to increase our monthly business trainings to make sure we're responding to the community's needs for what they need to be resilient going forward, as well as look at some industry-specific information sessions, checking out those industries that may have been the most deeply impacted. And of course, we're going to continue to offer support and guidance on economic recovery, facilitate grants, and make sure that people can navigate the relief programs successfully. That is it. I'm hoping you heard me. You saw the handouts, and let me know what I may have missed or broken up on or anything like that.
I just had one. I just had one quick question. On some of your surveys, what was one of the top things that people said during this time of COVID that their needs are as the businesses, what can help them?
I'm going to ask Grant, who's on here, to chime in because he was the one that administered both of those and knows the content the best. Grant, are you there?
I am here, yeah. So can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yes, I was just asking what are kind of the top couple needs that businesses are expressing to you guys during the time of COVID? Like, what are they needing during this time the most?
Yeah, well, what we hear the most is the need for funding, bridge funding to sort of close the gap in revenue shortfall. And then a big thing we're hearing is confusion around the governor's reopen phase plan and what needs to be done there to be compliant. I'd say would be the two most common inquiries we get.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Anything else? Any other questions you all have or feedback?
Any other questions or comments, feedback?
This was very helpful. I appreciate you doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or want to partner on anything. We'd love to connect with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
And we'll definitely make sure that, I think was your contact information in the slides or?
It isn't, but I'll send, Todd has it, my signatures, not to put the burden on Todd to get everything out, but we can get it to you directly. And I'm happy to come out and visit on site too. I have family in McClary, so I have more than one reason to come on by.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that council has your contact info, and that way if they come up with any other questions, they can reach out.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So next on our agenda is the union negotiation executive session for RCW 14.30.140. Todd, are you able to move us into in a room with Chris Coker?
We'd probably have to call, it's easier to call Chris.
Okay.
Yes.
So I can call Chris on my cell phone. So this will be a 10-minute executive session. And are you able to mute us or whatever? Todd?
Yes.
Okay.
As soon as you want to, whenever you want to do that.
Okay, let me call Chris.
Hey, Brenda,
Yes.
call me at 360
Oh,
Oh, no, here we go.
yep.
555
Yes.
1114, please.
Okay.
And does the whole town have his phone?
Yeah. Let me know when we're back, Todd.
We're good.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, and we will resume with our, we have a public hearing tonight on the combined revenue resources for the 2021 proposed budget. I do this separately, right? Okay. So I'm going to open the hearing on the combined revenue resources. Is there anybody on the public lines or anyone here on council that would like to be heard with regard to the combined revenue resources projected for 2021 McCleary budget? Is everyone unmuted?
I'm trying to, but nothing is happening on our computer. It's recording, I know that.
Would anyone like to be heard on combined revenue resources for 2021 McCleary City budget?
Can they chat, Todd? If they can't talk, can they chat with us?
Well, it says attendees can now unmute themselves
Mm-hmm.
when you click on that, so.
Nope.
How many people do we have signed in?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Hey,
including.
Todd.
Yo,
Todd, this is Chris. Can you hear me?
yeah. Can you hear us?
So I can hear you fine. I just unmuted myself and I hear all you're saying. So if they want to unmute themselves, they can log in. Or they can
Alex
hear, they can.
Lambert said he has no opinion.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go back on mute.
Okay.
All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing on the combined revenue resources for McCleary's 2021 city budget. At this time, we're going to host a public hearing with ad valorem tax levy ordinance. Would anyone like to be heard with regard to the ad valorem tax levy ordinance?
Want to maybe explain that?
Yeah. Well, this ordinance allows the city to impose an additional, I think it's up to 1% on property taxes for any property that's taxed in the city limits. It gives the city the ability to add this on to the annual property tax amount to generate additional funding for the city. And it is controlled. The city can only do up to a certain amount based on the amount it's already receiving, and they calculate the percentage. So sometimes, some years, we're not even allowed to do the whole 1%. This year, I do believe that we were able to.
If we're looking at the final numbers, we'll know by the time we adopt the ordinance at the next meeting, the exact amounts at that time. but it looks like it.
So it could be up to 1%, an additional 1%. Hard to explain it because there's a formula.
Does that have to do with competing with other government entities that holds, was it the 250 per 100,000? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's a property tax increase. So whatever our assessed value is of the city, that's what it's based off of. So you can only, we're up at a certain point right now, and you can only go 1% above that point. So every year.
Yeah. So we can choose to go up the 1%, or we can choose not to.
Mhm.
So that's the issue on the table. And then I heard Wendy say we don't have the final numbers yet, but but when we have those, you'll see, I think it goes up fairly negligibly, but this is a recurring ordinance that my experience with other cities is most of the time it's passed. Sometimes it is not, but most of the time it is, but it's up to you guys on that.
We've always passed it as far as I know. I can't think of any years that we haven't. I think it said it was like 3,000. Additional.
Yeah, it's not a huge amount of money.
Yeah, it's not a big amount.
I think I saw there was like 390,000. Right? What you're talking about?
I know the addition bill was only like 3,000 something.
Oh, compared to last
The additional
Okay.
revenue that we get from this tax.
Yeah. It's like, depending on if it's 1% or not.
Would anyone like to be heard with regard to the tax levy ordinance? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. All right. Under mayor comments, I just want to share a couple of things for sure. An audit update. Some of you were on the audit closing conference. I think they call it closing conference. Once again, the city received a clean audit, which is a wonderful thing for us. This year included an audit on the federal funding that we had achieved through the various projects, so there was some additional audit testing points. And we had, I think there might have been about 5 or 6 things that they called out, or recommendations on some fixes that we could make. One of the recommendations and sort of admonitions, I guess, is we needed to update our purchasing policy to include the federal funding piece, so we're working on that. A couple of things had to do with, we need to update our allocation, our cost allocation policy, and make sure that we have a policy that we're following as to how we expense things out and charge them off each department, basically. So we're also working on that. But everything that we had was, it was just recommendations of the things that you should be doing. There were no findings at all. Clean audit, we're very grateful for that. And so just wanted to let council know that's where we're at with that. And also want to extend, a big thank you to our accounting and finance team who keep our books in order. And I know that extends also even into Todd as Director of Public Works. He does a lot of work on that federal funding and the budget, Chief as well. But Wendy and her team, they keep our books, they keep the records, they maintain everything. And so I just want to extend appreciation to our finance team and the extended people that support that process. Also, November council meetings, I wanted to discuss this with you, and I said, please put it in there because I always forget. So November the 11th, second Wednesday of November, and that is a holiday, Veterans Day. So we need to determine what we would like to do with regard to our council meeting. It is a federal holiday, it's recognized by the city, so city staff will not be working that day. So would council like to move the meeting to the 18th of November? And the following week would be the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and I think we have generally canceled that. So that's one proposal.
I'm fine with that.
18 works.
Does that sound good to everybody? So we will have a meeting on Wednesday, November the 18th. And then we will cancel the Wednesday, November the 25th.
So we'll have finance meeting that night as well.
Yes, on the 18th. So in recognition of the Thanksgiving weekend, that holiday. So then we would have our first meeting in December. And I don't know if you want to continue talking about that, but I think the second meeting in December would actually be Christmas Day, so.
I don't know if y'all want to cancel.
I'm not coming in on Christmas Day.
I think it's the 23rd, so yeah, but close enough. I'm busy enough during Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, so, I think that we'll wait until our first meeting in December to make that call, only because we will need to ensure that we've adopted a budget, that has to be done in December. But just to kind of bring that and put it onto our radar, so for November, do I need a motion to make the change to the schedule? Okay, so we would entertain a motion to have a meeting on Wednesday, November the 18th, and cancel the Wednesday, November 25th meeting for the month of November, if anyone on council would be.
So I'll make a motion to cancel the November 11th and the November 25th meetings and instead have a meeting on November 18th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? All right, motion is approved. Thank you. And so Wendy will make appropriate notifications and announcements about the schedule change. Okay, public comment. Do we have anybody online that would like to provide public comment this evening?
Hold on a second. No.
Thank you for your patience as we all learn this process together.
Oh, it's just not working right. I don't know. It says unmute all, but they have to unmute themselves to be able to talk, so.
So the lines are open. If you want to unmute yourself, if anyone would like to be heard for public comment, we're gonna leave this open for, I'll wait like a minute and see if anybody wants to be heard. Make sure. Somebody has an opportunity.
Hey, Brent, I'm gonna jump in real quick. In regards to the first responders of the airworks, and last year we did it in November, down here. And then talking with you and Chris, it sounds like that's all work due to COVID restrictions and the amount of people that we have. So I wanted to float the idea so we could kind of the award winner and hopefully some of their family members and see what council thought about if we did it on regular space for the life, you know, already. If that's okay with the rest of the chamber, council. I'd like to move that way. That way we can make sure we get arrangements made.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. And then the other thing I have, I want to thank Brenda, Wendy Cobb, whoever else, at City Hall. I've heard a lot of positive feedback. People really like, show support from the city, for honoring breast cancer, people have gone through that, or currently going through it. And so it's, I wrote the press share for the positive support for the city.
Yes, thank you. That's a great idea, and we're also looking for other ideas for other awareness months that we can also honor in the city. So we're open to that. If you've got ideas and feedback, and we're grateful to Summit Pacific, the hospital and the clinic provided the banner that we're using. They donated that to us, so that was no cost at all, and we appreciate their collaboration on that. And we're going to be looking to them. We've talked about, February is Heart Month, so we thought about doing red lights and having them from the Heart Association or something about heart health and so on. So we'll probably reach out to the clinic again and collaborate with them where we can. So thank you for that. I think it looks nice. I like driving their lights.
Right.
So, would now be the time to bring up that for exercise equipment? It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, you could.
Okay, so, Jenna and I got a message from Pam Donnelly here in town. And, Todd's gonna bring it up on the computer so we can see it. We have this kind of equipment up at the hospital actually, along the path, and it's outdoor, exercise equipment for anybody that wants to use it. And it, she saw it, I don't remember.
Hey Noreen, what do you think so far?
Can you make that bigger? There you go.
As big as it gets.
Yeah, that works. Anyway, it's elliptical equipment, and I know at the hospital, when people walk the trail around the hospital, they use it, enjoy it. So that was something Pam thought, might be something you might be interested in doing here in town. We were talking about, what kinds of things should we look at maybe for next year for the budget?
I
And,
know, when Jan and I met with Andrea, with the city council, that was something that came up too. Is
That's what I was gonna ask too.
Yeah.
yeah, and, and it could be at the park, or it could be around town, where people are walking around town and doing all different things, however we want to do it. But Jim mentioned in that conversation something about possibly getting grants to help with it.
And that's kind of what I was wondering, like you said, with Summit Pacific being that it's an exercise, a health.
Right.
That's why we're also wondering with our medical provider, because sometimes groups will help with exercise equipment or, outdoor equipment or things like that, if it's part of the medical and part of healthy communities, kind of the blue zone sort of idea, and things like that too. And so, and then play equipment is one of those things of RCO and, different things like that do, but that's not the process.
So it's something to think about, maybe we can discuss it in the next, put it on the agenda for the next council meeting. But yeah, I know that at the hospital it's very popular.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else online? Todd, if you have anybody that wanted to be heard?
There's nobody that's chatted and nobody seems to unmute themselves, so.
Okay. All right, moving forward. Tab A, the minutes from our previous meeting. Any questions, comments, or we entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table say aye. Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? And the motion is approved. Thank you. We have accounts payable vouchers for September 1 through 15 and September 16 through 30, and our payroll for September 2020. So we have the two books here with the payable vouchers. If you have any questions or anything, and then they have the signature pages also there for you. So any questions, comments, or we entertain a motion to approve the vouchers? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion?
I do want to say, that they do send us the vouchers now so that we can look at it before we come in. So you should have gotten an email from Lindsay. You check your emails. Pardon, what's his words? Okay.
All right, all in favor of the motion on the table say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? The motion is approved. Thank you. Staff reports. Does anyone have any questions on the staff reports that were included in the packet? And I believe we have Kevin here online. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was on here.
Okay, so Kevin, we're going to give Kevin the floor for a few minutes here to add to his staff report, to kind of explain a little bit about what he's talking about. And so let's give him the floor to add to his, and then we'll entertain any other questions about the staff. Kevin, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, wonderful. We're giving you the floor.
Oh, you're going to give me the floor? How wonderful. It's so very rare. I understand Bryson had wanted to go over some of the conversation that he and I had a month and a half ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, I thought it would be good, when I met with you that day, Kevin, how you explained it, it made sense, so I thought it would be good for the rest of the council to hear what you had to say rather than trying to read and track me in just a memo.
Okay, so where you and I started, I believe, was, I had suggested that, there are some things going on around with our two treatment plants. Our wastewater treatment plant was, upgraded 14 years ago. Basically, as you see or hear, we constantly win awards. But to constantly win awards, that is, a lot of it is done by, well, John and I do the work that we're supposed to do, but the automation of it, of the wastewater treatment plant, is very, very important. 14 years ago, we had the top of the line computers and processors running that equipment. As all of you know, that electronics go. They just someday peter out. So I have been and I'll give you an example of what has some of the things that have happened. When Gary Dent was the mayor, we had a card go out, a processor card. That card, when it was new, cost $500. To replace that card, because it was so old, cost $2,100. Because the company says, oh yeah, we're going to support you, but well, for us, if you want that part, it's going to cost you more. So they keep adding the costs up as things get older and older and older. Also, what we're looking at is, as I'm sure almost all of you are aware of, is that Windows 7 is supported by Microsoft. Is everybody aware of that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, our computers at both the wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant are supported by Windows 7. Most of the computers you buy nowadays, you can just go in, pop in, oh, I need to have the upgrade to Windows 10, and boom, we're done. Well, for the treatment plant and for both treatment plants, water and wastewater, you can't do that. That's all customized programming. You cannot push a button and magic. It's all new. So we have to go in and we have to buy license agreements to get these items changed. To have the same thing what we had 14 years ago will cost us $32,000. No upgrades, no improvements, no change, and getting rid of programs that don't work, programs that were bad programs. Or we can pay a little bit more and have programs that will call out to our cell phones. We can monitor them from anywhere. For example, on the weekends, we have people who come in from weekend duty. If they spot a problem that they don't understand how to fix, currently somebody has to hop in their car, drive into town, fix the minor problem, which may take 2 to 3 minutes, then drive home. Time is money. If we had the newer programs that are available, we would be able to look at it on our phones, our computers, wherever. Even if both John and I were sick, Todd could look on his computer, call us and say, Kevin, what do I got to push? So we're looking forward to having better working programs, get the alarms fixed that frankly don't even tell us what's going on, because we don't know why they failed. They're just getting old. And so, does anybody have any questions yet?
So how much more is this upgraded program that you're talking about?
The upgrades would be $76,000.
And to get what we have currently would be 36, is what you said?
would be $32,000 for the same stuff that call us out when we have emergencies, doesn't fix any problems that we have. And I had to fly out to North Carolina for a change of command, my son. And I was talking with an engineer in Montana, and he's in the waste business also. So we got talking about SCADA and programs, and he goes, "Oh, you guys got that Wonderware?" He goes, "Odd name for a lousy program." I go, "Yeah, I know." He said, his company now uses what we want to shift into. He lives in Helena, Montana. If one of the plants that his company operates, something happens in St. Louis, he can fix it from his, if it's capable to be fixed by computer, he can fix it when he's in Helena, Montana. He doesn't have to physically go there.
Right.
So there are advantages to moving forward in the future. If you have this same situation next year with Wonderware, and you need a new license from Wonderware, it's going to cost you more money. If you go with the cloud-based program, the next new license is only going to cost $5,000, not $36,000 to $40,000. So Wonderware just keeps jacking up the price. As Todd has seen, Todd and I have talked about this. When we did the upgrade with Wonderware, what was that, 5 or 6 years ago, Todd?
Yeah.
It was $7,000 for one computer. Todd came to me last year and said, "Hey, we got a new upgrade they're showing us." I said, "How much is it?" He goes, $14,000. The prices just keep going up, but you don't improve anything, which to me seems foolish, to not improve anything and be paying more for it. As far as the operations of the plants, the wastewater treatment plant, 14-year-old electronics, they are starting to go. And the best examples I can give are down at our, I know some of you have done a tour of the treatment plant and the solids handling building. That equipment, John has been down there and he has been operating, and all of a sudden pumps just turn themselves off. He goes and resets, things takes off. We had an engineer down looking at part of the system and the processors, and he just kind of looked at some of it, shook his head, said, "I think you can get that on eBay, but I don't think you can ever find new parts." So we can continue to piecemeal things together, or we can do something with the software this year, in 2021, and we'll try to combine upgrading the electronic components and the software at the same time. It's kind of up to you guys, but something's going to give. Like as we've seen with our pump drivers, things that tell the pump at what speed to operate, things like that. We've lost one, and just now we've lost another one, and that was due to faulty wire, which I wrote up in one of the last time on the staff reports. So these things are just getting old. We had faulty wiring. And faulty wiring, I have a union guy who lives next door to me. And he goes, I told him that they use solid wiring in the driver. He goes, "Oh, it must have been non-union." I go, "Why do you say that?" He goes, "Because non-union guys use solid wire and it's cheaper." Wrong thing to use, but it's cheaper. So I don't know. Do you guys want to fix things to make it right, or do you just want to keep moving down the same road we've been going and hope that just all holds together.
So do we have like in part of the utility plans or anything, was there a certain year that these were scheduled for?
No, there is no, I have never seen any schedule, because when it comes to these products, when the products are put in, the company, which is like Allen Bradley, come along and they say to the engineering firm, oh, we're going to support you for as long as you have these products. Well, yes, they'll support you, but when you want to get new products, or you wanted to replace that one product, they just charge you more. And so they just keep upping the price to get you to move to newer technology.
So I have a question for Todd.
Yep.
I'm looking at the water managerial replacement fund. And that we use, because I see that there's nothing in the sewer managerial replacement fund. Can that be used for what he's talking about?
Portion of it, yeah.
Because there's money in that account right now.
Right. So that stuff that's at the treatment plant has to come out of sewer. Stuff that's at the water plant has to come out of water.
Well, sewer doesn't have a replacement fund.
Correct. Because our sewer fund is not as healthy as the water fund right now. So that's our issue. So Kevin, what I was going to ask was, this can be phased in. It's not all at once, right?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. If you were to say to me, okay, we're going to give you funds to repair the just the software, which one would you want taken care of first? I would say the wastewater treatment plant. It is the oldest programming we have. There is stuff in there that we don't even use, and we still get alarms on.
So
We've got SCADA stuff that's showing that a pump is running, that there's not even a pump there.
That's miraculous.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Silly me.
I guess my only concern is that I just don't want us to do like a big chunk or something where it would then increase rates or something like that. So I think that's just what if it needs a phased approach or something. I just know that rates are, a bit a touchy subject for citizens here. So
you're absolutely right. No matter what city you live in, rates are a touchy subject. It is not only McCleary. It is whatever city, I've called and talked to other cities about, what they did and things like that, and their water rates and stuff like that. And wherever you go, rates are the big issue. So I agree totally with you what you're saying, but eventually we have to step forward, and if eventually we have new personnel down there, they would probably not want to be handed something that will be, by the time they get it, maybe 24, 25 years old, and they're going like, oh my God, this stuff is so old. How come nobody improved it? What's wrong with that guy that was in front of me?
No, and I agree that efficiency, that is very important too. And I know that that's something that you guys have been working towards, is having these kind of funds so that we don't come down to these. But my goal is just also to be able to have these to look at, so that there are other funding sources available or other things like that that we can look at to look at. And I know that I don't know if this is going into the capital facilities plan as part of, something that would be like on a kind of a rotation schedule too, because it's a facility. But just kind of some of those, because like you said, there's not a lot we can do about it now, because we're here and it's come up, but it's nice to be able to have that in plan, so that you do know, hey, in 5 years we're going to need this, so let's be looking out and see if there's something else that we can apply for, or there's some other source that we could use, because you do want to be efficient, you want to have a good working system. So I completely agree with that. That's just my concern is the money and the ratepayers.
So this $76,000 price tag, is that strictly on the computer program for SCADA, or what does that cover?
What that covers, that $76,000, that covers both treatment plants, doing the building up of the programs, because you're basically, we have, for example, the water treatment plant, what they're doing is they buy a new computer, they launch the programs into the new computers, and then stack them next to the old programs and phase them in to make sure there are no problems. It's not just a guy walks in, slaps a program in, and boom, it's done. It's rebuilding, it's reprogramming, it's building custom programs. And I think anybody can tell you that once you go to custom programming, it's not off the shelf.
I understand that. My question though, so basically it's I'll do this. Basically it's for computer programs. It's not for like equipment in the treatment plants or equipment, and it's just for the computer. And I know how expensive. I ran an X-ray department for 30 years, so I know.
Great.
I just want to make sure I understand what the money is going towards. So it's going towards software.
It's going to software and software engineering, and 2 new computers.
And hardware, yeah.
Yes.
But it's all computer. It's not some piece of equipment down in the treatment plant or anything like that.
The only in the program that would be used, a water treatment plant, there would be one piece of equipment change they make there, and it's a wire setup so that if there is a problem with the chlorine, it can be adjusted. It would not have to be a local adjustment. If there is a problem with the chlorine, which we as all get put into the water, we would be able to adjust that and not have to come in. Because right now, as it stands, if we need to make any adjustment, we have to come in, turn a pump on, make the adjustment, turn, and then turn the pump off. So those problems would be eliminated.
Thank you.
And that would be the only hardware piece that would be done at the at the water treatment plant.
Okay. That answered my question. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Kevin, for the
Thanks, Kevin.
overview. Very helpful. Yeah.
All right.
I'm muting you.
Bye.
So we wanted Kevin to just present on that so people would understand as we're going into budgets, and if you see something that has a big price tag, for people to kind of understand where we're coming from. And yes, Councilmember Ansbury hit the nail on the head where she mentioned that, or asked, is there a plan? Is there a schedule? Like, when is this supposed to happen? And there has always been these schedules and plans in place, and we cannot, nor do we care to comment on how things have been done, but what can we do moving forward to ensure that in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, that people aren't sitting here going, what are we gonna do? That there is a plan in place to sustain what we're doing.
So that's what Todd, I know, has been working on is doing.
Yes.
Right, but you have to understand too that we have all these things that we need to do, and you have to have an income to do it. So you have to raise rates in order to cover your capital improvement plan.
Right.
So not raising rates is not an option if you want to keep up and maintain your system over years.
Why is the sewer fund at 0.9 as good as the water one? Why is it a difference?
Just because of, we just haven't had the revenue. We've been tight over the last forever. So,
Todd?
yeah, go ahead. You're back.
The answer to that question is the environment at a wastewater treatment plant is very bad. Make it simple. So things, because of you're running high voltage, you're running a lot of different equipment. that equipment is used constantly 24/7 and it breaks down much faster. And there are times that you have a cascade of issues happen, and there is some of those things you cannot plan for, and you're just sort of dumbfounded when it breaks, because why did it break? Why did it go out? There's no cause. We have regularly scheduled maintenance on almost all of our equipment, and it is a very, very challenging environment for any equipment.
Well, and then also just to let you know too, we've had more projects coming out of the sewer fund than we have with the water fund. So we rebuilt a lift station 2 or 3 years ago out of Wildcat. That was a little over 225,000 roughly. So that brought down a bunch of the funds. We had replaced a sewer line last year up on Birch Street where we ran a new line to replace a collapsed line that was up there. That was another 30 to 40,000. So we've had big chunks come out the last couple of years that otherwise would have went towards managerial funds. So.
Do we qualify for any of the Department of Ecology programs, or do you guys ever look into those for sewer water projects?
Yes, we qualify for loans.
Just loans?
Yeah. So, well, it's a loan grant mix, but majority of everything that we qualify would be a small grant with a big loan. Yes.
County just must have been lucky the last few years. We've gotten a couple projects paid fully out with our utilities out on the beach. So they just must have been really highly sought after projects. So.
And a lot of it has to do with the condition of your system currently. So out at the beach, they don't like failing system out there to go out to the ocean and do the shellfish. So yeah.
No, thank you. I just, there's differences between different funding sources.
So any other questions, either for Kevin or for any of the staff reports that were included? If you have any other questions for our staff. All right.
Oh, maybe? I don't know.
Okay. Under tab C, moving on in the agenda, we have the COVID-19 update on the expenditures. You can see here the amounts that we continue to allocate, and our total expenses for the COVID-19 response so far for 2020 is $1.3,934.73. And granted, this is, all of our expenses, employee expenses, payroll expenses, we've allocated everything for the sake of, we're only working, when there was a time we sent all employees home to keep them safe, but our police officers couldn't work, so we were still paying them. And we paid employees while they were home, not able to work on site. And so those expenses we attributed to COVID because we had to do that. We had to send them home to keep them safe during that stay healthy period and so on. We continue to purchase PPE. We continue to have extra cleaning in the library, in this building, in City Hall. So we just continue to do the things that we need to do to respond to the current guidance, to respond to the emergency, to ensure that people have what they need. We also were able to work with Squaxin Tribe and with Grays Harbor County. Both have emergency operations centers, and we collaborated with both of those agencies and both of those entities, and we've been able to also secure some resources through them. But we just continue to track this, and we will, be submitting as much as we can, or all of it, to FEMA once we get to that spot, and hopefully get as much back as we can to support the city and what they've been doing. On separate funding with regard to the CARES Act money that came to the states, and then Governor Inslee allocated a certain amount of that to go to cities and counties. Our initial amount was $54,000. They then later came back and said that they've increased it, so we've got about 80,000. I think it's 80 or 84,000, something like that. And so we're working on what can be submitted for the CARES Act funding as well. That application deadline has been pushed out to November 15th. It was originally October 15th. It can be utilized for monies that are spent through December 31. So we continue to work on that, putting together what we plan to submit to the state for reimbursement. again, this is money that has to be reimbursed. This is not, we're asking for money for something that we're gonna go buy. It's money that we spend and they're gonna reimburse us because we spent it on our response to COVID. We are working on a plan. We're collaborating with the Department of Commerce on creating an application so that our businesses can apply for a business grant because the money can be utilized for that. So working on that with them to get an application process that aligns with their requirements for giving that money to businesses. And then we'll make them, make those applications available to our local businesses here in McCleary and hopefully, allocate that money to the businesses that qualify. So, we are working on that because we heard from the council that supporting our local businesses was one of the things that you really wanted to see happen. So we continue to maintain and track the expenses. Again, we want to thank Wendy and her finance team for helping us with the accounting of all of this. It's a lot to keep account basically of two separate books, so to speak. But it's work that has to be done. It's going to help us in the end when we start submitting for reimbursements, whether it's through FEMA or through the CARES Act. And so we just continue to be mindful of our city budget. We did put some projects off throughout the year to ensure that we weren't going to have a huge negative impact on our revenues. We want to make sure what's going to happen. We also, we didn't hire summer help this year. We deferred that expense and did not spend that money. The police officer that we hired earlier this year came on later than anticipated because his start date was right in the middle of when COVID hit, and we couldn't bring somebody on and do the training that was necessary during that time. So there's been a lot of things that we were doing and things that kind of even happened organically or on their own that helped us to maintain what I feel like is a strong budget. Our finance committee met this evening, and I think they can attest to the fact that our numbers are looking very good for this year, in spite of the additional expenses that we've had. Again, I want to thank city staff for their attention to those details and being willing to work with the changes that we made along the way. I know that, for instance, not having any summer helpers for 120 hours a week that have been there to help people was absorbed by our teams. That's a lot. That's a lot of hours in a week that we didn't have help, and our team adjusted to that. So I want to thank our staff. They've done an outstanding job responding to this emergency. And we continue to track this, like I said. We want to keep you apprised of where we're at. And we'll just continue on, and hopefully there are brighter days ahead. I hope that we can soon be in a meeting where the public can come in again, and so on. So any questions on our COVID-19 expenditures to date? Maybe you had a question on.
So the 1.2 million, is that what we're hoping to ask for reimbursement on?
Technically speaking, yes.
Not that we get all, just that's what we're
Right.
asking.
We don't think it'll all qualify, but we've allocated it all there, and we'll submit it all and see what happens. Now, whatever we submit for CARES, we can't then submit to FEMA, but.
Right. But, so that would actually, that would put us ahead, right? I mean, because it's reimbursing stuff we've already paid for. So then that would put us ahead going into next year.
Potentially.
Sort of.
Potentially, because while some of this was already budgeted expense, like, we already had payroll expenses budgeted, we knew we were gonna pay people. But then we had to pay them to stay at home to be safe. That is something that we should be able to get reimbursed for, because that was specifically responding to COVID. We were paying people to stay at home.
Was that for 4 weeks? How long did you guys do that for? 4 to 6?
I don't know, it was, was it that?
It was like a month.
I think it was about a month's time.
Actually, the county did a month, and I thought that we were kind of on the same schedule, that it was like a month.
I think we did, and we had people working from home as much as possible. We had people catching up on training, we had, like, our office team, they all had computers at home, so they could log in, they could still work. So we were getting as much as we could, but, how do you put like power crew work at home on the training? Let's be honest. So, but, we as a council and we as a city should be proud of the fact that we did not lay off employees. We did not furlough employees. And we did not see anybody having to go onto the unemployment line because of the city. And I think that's something we should be very proud of. We were able to take care of our employees and keep them safe and keep them paid.
So we didn't lose paycheck protection plan.
We did not get a paycheck protection plan and program, we are doing here, PPP loans for the city. That's pretty amazing. So we're grateful. You know, I'm very grateful for what we've been able to do, and we'll continue to do the best that we can. And we'll continue to be careful, but we also have to continue looking toward the future and knowing that there are still things that need to get done. So
What are you looking for the amounts for the business grants? Do you guys have an idea of what you're looking for, like maximum or?
I think a maximum grant would be $5,000, and we're gonna try to base it on the number of employees. So if they qualify, the amount they get would be tied to the number of employees that they have. So if your business, for example, has 1 to 5 employees, for example, you might say that you get 1,000 or 1,500, and then if you have 6 to 10 or 6 to 14, then it would go up, and then if you had 15 to 25, and then up to 50, and then over. So we're working with Commerce on what would make sense. I also made a note tonight to reach out to Greater Grace Harbor because they've got a lot of these business grants, so they may have shed some light on that.
Yeah, we still have, the county is running into the problem of having too many applicants and wishing that we would have gone out to another agency to help us like that, because they've been so overwhelmed that we still have over, I think, like 120 that have not been funded yet. We only have 6 weeks to get this done in. And so it's very tight. And I was just gonna bring up another thing that I just found out from Commerce this week, along with the utility departments, are that you can offer applications to utility customers that have been unable to pay bills because of, it all has to be linked back to COVID. I mean, they have to have a reason due to COVID that they cannot pay their bill. But if they can prove that, we are able to then give them a grant amount to pay their utility bills. And so I had asked Wendy earlier this week for what our outstanding utility balances were. And so that is another avenue of helping the citizens of the city. And it's not very often the government actually gets to do that, you know, and so, but it is something, and it also then, for a lot of these people, if they can't pay their bills now, how are they gonna pay a big lump sum once the moratorium ends, you know? And so just as a note, I have a full packet of information from Mason County that they worked out with Commerce that has an application and all of that, and it was done to their PUD. So it could be very similar.
What PUD?
Mason PUD number 1.
Number 1, okay.
And so I can forward that email to you guys. But it was talked about with Commerce so that they worked it all out. And I know that the county is going to look at implementing that for our utilities and the Grace Harbor PUD. But it applies to utilities in general. So I just wanted to bring that up, that that's an option too for the city.
Thank you.
I think we talked about that at the last emergency management meeting we had last week. Yeah, last week or a week ago.
We continue to have our EOC meetings. We've been doing them weekly, and just last week we decided to go to a bi-weekly schedule because, you know, the information is not as quick and changing as it was originally. So we will be meeting this week, and then it'll be 2 weeks before we meet.
It's been nice. We've had a themed meeting every week. So like
what?
this week's theme.
Oh,
was
theme.
Utilities.
Okay.
So a bunch of utilities from across the state were on for the WASAC call. And I'm always happy if we can get documents from someone else that has already vetted them. Then, like you said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So it makes it really nice. I'm all about sharing information. So
yes, absolutely. So thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions? All right. So tab D, was this Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, I did that with staff reports. My apologies. I realized we put on a separate. Okay. Tab E, we have the LeMay rate adjustment proposal for 2021. And we provided the outline of the rates and what they're proposing for an increase. Did anyone have any questions?
The $2 per customer per month. Is that new or is that
Let me see. I'm sorry.
on this page? Like the third from the end? So letter N, the first sentence, additional $2,000 per customer per month. Yeah,
That's the city cleanup fee that's always been there.
so it's nothing new, it's just
No.
reiterating the same thing.
Mhm.
I thought it was familiar, but I couldn't find it anywhere else, so that's what I was trying.
Yes. So that goes directly towards the city cleanup. So, yes.
Any other questions?
And how much did you say the city cleanup cost this year?
The total after our credit, which $2 assessed fee per month goes to cover, was $14,000.
And how much did the $2 fee cover?
About
8,000.
Okay.
So that's what this year's cleanup was.
So when you pay your, the May bill every month, $2 of that is going toward that fee that we use as a credit toward the community.
Mhm.
So do we think it was more expensive this year because we didn't have them go by?
Dumpsters out all
Yeah,
week long.
dumpsters rather than a scheduled.
Well, we only did the
And it was a
dumpsters, but we did it for a week instead of a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a significant, you
They
know.
also waited 6 months longer, so you have a year and a half of stuff.
Here we go.
What else were you doing in the summer? You clean out your garage, your house, everything else, and then you had an opportunity to dump it all.
Yeah. And how many tires did you say, Todd?
425 tires.
Oh my gosh.
Tires. So really, this shows that this money is going towards a good cause. I mean, this is something that the city is definitely benefiting from. That's why I wanted those numbers in there.
That's a big difference though.
Almost 100 tons of trash. Yes.
It's done. Any other questions on the Lemaine?
Was it a percentage increase? Was that what it was?
Yeah, it's based off of, I can't remember. I want to say it's like off the CPI, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Not yet.
I'll wait.
We will, it's on the tab. Okay, so tab F, this is my, thing, and there's no collateral in the packet about this, but I would like to, initiate a PR communications committee for the city. And the reason for that is, the city is constantly, dealing with public relations. It is what we do these days. PR is just part of everything that we do. I don't care who you work for. If you work for a state agency, if you work for a private business, anything that you do, it's all about PR because everything is online, everything is very accessible to people. People are checking in, they're rating stuff, it's easy to give feedback and so on. So I think it would be very important for us to create a PR communications committee. And I would like that committee to, meet as they think they would need to, but a few goals that I have for it would be to engage and collaborate with the city staff to utilize the city's website and any of our social media pages for planned posting, planned communication, planned sharing, and to create an electronic newsletter for the city. I am not interested in anything printed. Electronic newsletters can be done basically no cost. It just becomes the time and the design of putting everything together. But I think it would be helpful and beneficial for the city to have a newsletter that we do, and I don't have a schedule in mind. Maybe it's once a year, twice a year, quarterly, whatever the committee comes up with that makes sense. I'm not putting any sort of parameters on it. I think that should be a discussion. But those are the things I have in mind is utilizing the city's social media tools and implementing a newsletter of sorts to help keep the community informed. When COVID-19 became a very realistic thing for us, I started doing a Friday Facebook Live event. At first it was just like, well, we gotta get this information out, we do this Facebook Live thing, and then it's like, well, why don't we just do this every week and share the information? And I'm very happy to do it, I've enjoyed doing it. And now I'm trying to get around town in different places and sort of feature the town as I out and about. One day I was in Olympia, so I did the McClary Mansion.
That was cool.
Which was kind of a fun thing, and it was a nice day that day. So I'm trying to do things that would feature the city and sort of get that information out there. But I can see that maybe even phasing out or other people taking that on and it not always being me and working through this committee. So I just wanted your thoughts on that, what you think of it. I think that we could definitely open up if there's a council member that wants to, or two that want to sit on it. And I would like to call for some of the people that we interviewed who said, hey, I'm happy to help. You know, I remember, I think Dave Sis mentioned that he was happy to help. One of the ladies that we interviewed, I think she worked for an escrow or,
I think that's something.
Lisa, is that her name?
Was it Bob Doll's wife?
Well, I was gonna say that the person that was on the, museum committee, he had brought up PR communications, like you're gonna say, but.
Yeah, but I think there's a few
But he
people.
did volunteer.
Yeah, and there was a gal that I think it was Lisa was the name. No,
Mhm.
anyway, we can, but I thought those are people that are ready, willing, and able, and, I know the renewal council has a lot of information. There might be someone from that team that wants to like participate on a committee like this, so that we all have that line of information coming in and so forth. Because like when you do events and things like that through that committee, this communications team could help promote those things as well. So it's an idea that I've had, and the city does not have a PR communications person. We don't have a social media person. Those things that we do fall to Todd.
Yeah.
And no offense to Todd, but when you think director of public works, you don't really think of PR and communications, you know, like, I don't think it's in his job description.
I've been really good about posting stuff.
Yeah.
And not posting things.
He's very happy to do it. But I think that this would be a way that we could, help to fill a gap, so to speak. I don't see that the city needs a full-time staff person to do these things, but I think a committee like this could really sort of enhance and complement what the city already has to offer. So those are my thoughts on the matter. I don't know what we have to do to establish this committee. I don't know if I just get to say we're gonna do it, or if we need a motion or what, but I don't know, Chris, maybe you can advise us on that. So let me just put the idea out there for tonight, and then we can make it an agenda item, and we can maybe invite some of these people to participate in the next council meeting, the ones I have mentioned that they would be willing to volunteer, and we could get the right things going in place to make it an official thing.
If you were thinking about starting in January,
My idea would be that anything we do would begin in January. Yes.
So I think it's a great idea.
so it's not like we have to rush out before Christmas and do it, so.
Yeah, no. And when I say January, that could mean, or we might have a newsletter in January, we might not, like, that is just getting me together and getting started.
Hey, Brenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just add it. We have our committees that we put together. You can just kind of create it, add it to our list of committees that already exist.
Okay, all right, so that's what we'll do.
It's informal. It's nothing that has to be,
Perfect.
done.
Okay. So what I would like to do is, like I said, I'll make an agenda item. I think we'll research and see what's going on. I'll see if we can get that to engage in the next council meeting, and that way we can kind of get it off and running and make that plan for January 2021 to get it going. And if you people, anyone here knows people in your network that you think would be interested in that, invite them to come and be part of this discussion and get on board and help out. I think it'll be fun. I think this will be a fun committee, something enjoyable and a way that we can get even more notoriety and feature our city in different ways. All right. Tab G, property access.
I was trying to picture where this is.
That's what I was
Is this actually like Goodman's,
Good ones.
John Goodman's place?
No, so this is our actually city, we had a request, for access from Alex Lambert, who's on the line, listening also, but, basically they own a piece of property. I don't know, let's see here. If you can see up on the screen here, I kind of did that. Anyway,
Going out to Lincoln.
yeah, so this is Summit Road here,
Right.
Ray Hill's old house. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh.
Yes. Anyway, they own that piece, and then there's railroad tracks that bisects his property to the outside. So, in order for him To get access, he has three options. A is go through his own personal property, to go over the railroad tracks. Hilo is looking at our city property, which is, as soon as I can knock that off.
We've got the picture here of city land.
Right, well, that's not anything I wanted right there. Anyway, out at our wells, we have a gate
Right.
that goes through, and it goes through well 2 and well 3, which is our well field, go down, and then he'd have to go through Simpson property to access his property from the back end of it. Or there's another option that we own that 7 and 8 acres, 9 acres that was purchased for the fire station mitigation property, which there's already a right of way established back to the railroad tracks, and possibly give him an easement along the railroad tracks across other, and he'd have to get access across other people's property to get to that point.
What does he want to do back there?
I'm not sure if it says it in his request at all, but he just, I know he wants access. So I think eventually he wants to build a house back there.
He's on the line, right?
Yes. And I don't know. So, I mean, Alex, if you would like to talk about anything, you can unmute yourself. And my whole computer's not working at all. So I've lost my mouse, I've lost everything. So
That's perfect. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So the reason we want to go through option A is go by the wells is because we eventually, or we do want to build a house on that property. But if we use option A, we can keep the existing house and the new property separate, which was kind of our goal, because we might end up selling the current property, or we might end up renting it out. So the reason we avoid going through the track, reason I avoid using the tracks is we might have some separation. It'd be hard to separate the two properties with such a thin driveway to connect both of them. And the option C, going south through the field, that won't be an option for us because we had to cut through we had to create a large driveway from the road out to the service road, and we'd be able to cut through. I think it could be 4 unique different parcels, which it'd just be 4 easements we have to deal with as well. So, yeah.
So go Summit Road, it would go through like where the Drakes used to live?
yes,
Okay.
I'm having a hard time figuring out where this is.
That's the road that you have gated though.
Right.
so, and that's my main concern is it's our city well. This is where we get all our wells at, or that's where we get all our water at. Limiting access to it is safe. Allowing access through it allows potential issues. And so that's what my main concern is you allow access, that's more vehicles driving through our well field, that's more,
Somebody could do something.
correct.
Hey, Todd, this is Chris. Has there been survey work done on it yet, or is this kind of just the preliminary? Is it something we're willing to consider stage?
This is just a preliminary asking if this is even an option for him.
Is the access anticipated to just be ingress and egress for a single family residence, or is it like a development area?
Be a single family residence.
Okay.
Okay.
That was the question I had.
Yeah, so currently it would be for a single family residence, but the property is big enough, it could be potentially be divided up if in the future.
How big is that property?
I don't have it right off the top of my head. It's just, I
Well,
know.
he probably knows he owns it.
I can answer that if you want.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the property in the back is 1.7 acres.
So, 5 lots. I believe it's residential. Holy moly.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, Todd, but okay.
No.
So there could be future development.
If it would maybe make it a little easier, we have no intention of building other properties beside the one house, and it make it easier on the council. We can maybe sign a waiver or saying something that we promise that there won't be other houses except for this one.
It's zoned R3, by the way, which is manufactured homes. So it's,
For future owners.
Yes.
I guess my question would be, is there another way to, like, okay, and mind you, I'm just gonna say that I am not familiar with this at all. I don't even know what we're talking about or where we're talking about. So my question is, is there a way to gate off our area in a different way that would allow access?
No.
Okay.
If you drive through right by the well.
Yeah, see that, I have no point of reference. I have no idea what.
Can you redirect?
That's why the question is.
Like create an alternate route. So instead of going along the wells, you kind of take a different path.
So this is the property he's talking about, our well property. So that's railroad tracks, yep. So we come in through this way, we access well 2 is right there, wells 3 is there, and they want to access it this way and then come back. Well, I don't know if it's on his thing here. So basically he wants to come right along the one piece of property.
Along the route.
Yes.
So the red line is what they want to follow, or? the yellow?
No, the black and then red would be like a new road for them to access.
So you're saying this black line runs along our well
Yes.
border?
That's our well access road is the black line. The yellow is the city property other than the bottom right-hand corner, I guess. And then the red line would have to be a new road for him to access or to build to access his property.
So there's no way of like fencing along our well or anything like that?
I mean, we could fence them in, but it's, you're right. It's still more vehicles running over our well field there.
And possibly dropping oil.
Yeah.
And then the other option would be to go up Larson?
Nope. Nah, Larson's passed it. So yeah, so he has the other options. I mean, let me go back to, of course it's going to do this. Yeah, I tried doing it on the screen and laser point just reflects back onto the ceiling. So
Yeah, I saw you doing something on the ceiling. I wasn't.
So this is the property he's trying to access, where the yellow is to the right, which of course is where everything is. That's that has a house on it. So ideally would not ideally, but anyway, he would have access. There's already a driveway here to a house, and he would have to build an access road right along through here, get permission from whoever owns this rail right away and access that property.
Is that house on Summit Road? Or
Yes. It was right after the S turn, so,
I know.
yeah.
Okay, so there's already basically somebody living there before his property. So he could get an easement along the edge, he could turn in from Summit.
That's always his property.
He owns it.
Oh,
Yeah.
he owns a piece that has a house on it?
Hmm.
So, yeah, he went in on the south border there. He can go straight back, but that piece between the two pieces, you don't know who owns that, is that Simpson?
Simpson Door Company is what it says,
They might be willing to give him an easement.
potentially.
You try not to across the track or something?
There's no track there.
Understood, correct application is, thinking they wanted to sell.
Yeah, what he wants to do is what it sounds like is his. Okay, it's not going to do it. So I think he wants to sell this front piece and then build in the back.
He can sell it with, that's what he can, I mean, he can sell that with an easement.
But I think that's his idea is when he wants to sell the front, build in the back, and then have not share a driveway with the front is what he was saying, so.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable going through the water. That concerns me.
And the other option I asked was talking about was, we own this piece here.
Yeah.
So we own this big field here.
The brown field.
Yes, and so this is actually a city right away. It runs right through here. The lines are off, so don't pay attention to the house in the middle. So actually, it runs right through here. But we have a 60-foot right away, 40-foot right away through there. That would be able to, that accesses the back part. And the other option I was hoping he would consider would be, you come through here after the rail right away and take a right and maybe go through these properties, which then I think they might be willing to do since it gives them access to those properties also.
So who pays for building these roads?
He would build his own driveway, yes.
Does he have a tractor?
I don't know what he has, so.
So he's looking for, city would pay $2.
I believe so.
Is that correct? Alex?
Are you still there?
Yep, we're still here. Can you repeat your question?
So the question before council tonight is, would the city consider easements on any of these options, or?
Primary question was, would the city consider letting us use the well access to get to our property?
Okay.
You know, I want to talk to the water guys too, I think.
Hi, I'm the water guy. Oh,
Any other thoughts from council?
I would consider it if there wasn't other options, but since there is other options, that would be my first choice.
Yeah, I'd say the southern route is the better option.
Yeah.
Even though it does present some interesting obstacles with additional homeowners there, or property owners.
Currently, he owns both of those.
There's 3 parcels in between our parcel and his on that southern side.
Okay.
right. Yeah, these 3 right there.
Any other thoughts, questions for him?
I'm not comfortable with going over a well.
There's already enough complaints about the aquifer. I mean, we had the wells on top of it.
Well, that's the other thing too, is we already have a lot of people concerned about our aquifer. That, yes, that was in my mind as well.
So to summarize, what I'm hearing from council is, because there are other options, we really don't want to have somebody having access to the well field or introducing traffic that would come and go freely across the well. Do I summarize that correctly? Yes. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of saw that coming, but thanks anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, council, for consideration and taking time to look at that. Under tab H, we have the Itron maintenance agreement. Todd, you want to give us, or no, sorry. Yeah.
So Itron, I believe this is our meter reading software. Yeah, so it's our meter reading software that we use to read all our electric meters and our water meters. It's just a yearly maintenance that we do for, it's a yearly thing that we do every year. So just to make sure we have everything updated and everything's correct, so.
Any questions, concerns, or we entertain a motion to approve the renewal, the maintenance renewal?
Motion to approve.
I second. No motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? And that is approved. Thank you. Under tab I, we have the Umpqua TMSA check scanner agreement. previous to COVID-19, we had talked with our finance team about having a check depositing mechanism brought into City Hall so that we could deposit checks on a daily basis directly without having to drive to the bank. With the onset of COVID-19, the need for this has only been highlighted, not having to send people out to the bank. Banks were closed to the public, you feel like you didn't have an appointment and so on. So it just sort of resonated with us that this would be a good thing to get done. So the agreement that we have here from Umpqua Bank is for the check scanner that will be installed and set up at City Hall, enabling our staff to deposit checks without having to use City Hall at all. This will be extremely helpful to us in that our bank is in Montesano. So when we have to send someone to the bank, they're driving all the way to Montesano. And this will eliminate those drives, and it will allow us to process the checks on a daily basis rather than having them sit for any amount of time. So this is something that we are going to do here at City Hall, and we provided a copy of the agreement so that you can see it. And just as a way of making sure that all of our tracks are covered and our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, since I will be signing an agreement with the bank, I do want council to approve this. So any questions, comments, concerns, or we entertain a motion to approve?
Is there a cost or is it just included with?
There's a small fee that you pay when they give you that outline.
So what they did is they agreed to provide the scanner for free for just being a long-term customer. And plus they've had to move twice, which was out of our control. So this was a nice gesture. And I believe we'll end up over time saving money on our monthly charges for services because we'll be scanning them. So instead of us taking them to the bank and they charge you a snap transaction, it'll actually be a little bit less. Thanks.
Any other questions? Are we entertaining a motion to approve? So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? And the motion is approved. Thank you. Under tab J, again, this was something that we had talked about prior to COVID, but it's becoming even more important now with COVID-related matters. We are going to institute a cash pickup service with Loomis. So we'll have an armored car that comes and picks up the cash from City Hall. Again, this will be, it'll occur once weekly. This will mean that we don't have cash sitting around. This will mean we don't have employees driving to Montana with large amounts of cash in the vehicle. It's a good move from a security standpoint. We're not putting employees at risk. We're not putting money at risk, and so on. We alerted our police department as to the day of the week that the armored car service will be happening, so they can be on alert and know that. And we opted for a day of the week. They can come at any time during that day rather than a specific set of time during the day because that was more expensive. Wendy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is going to be around $80 a month.
Yes, it's around 88.
So again, we're not paying staff time or wear and tear mileage on the vehicle to send someone to Montesano 4 or 5 or 6 times a month. So it's really not going to cost us any more than what we're spending. And it will be a safer, more secure way of doing our banking. So again, because there's a signature on the contract, we want to bring this to council and just make sure that you all know what we're doing and seek your approval if you would mind, if you would be so kind for us to institute this service and to sign the contract. Any questions or comments, or we entertain a motion to approve?
I think this is gonna save money, just by mileage alone.
Yeah, and safety issues.
Do we want to check with one carrier and
Well, I'm with the state contract, and they have actually 3 carriers, but not for all locations. So for the Grace Harbor area, Loomis is the one that services us. I guess they're somewhat limited. I didn't realize I learned a lot more than
somewhere, there used to be another one, I don't know if they still do, but they used to come up with one, so that's what.
Oh, okay.
There was a.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? We entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Your motion and second, any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, by the same sign. The motion is approved, thank you. Under tab K, we have the tax levy ordinance. This is an introduction only. We're not taking action on this ordinance tonight. As Wendy mentioned earlier, we'll have the final numbers so that we can provide you the actual percentage that we would be seeking. It can be up to 1%. Early projections indicate that we'll probably be seeking for 1%. But if anyone has any questions or comments about this ordinance, and you'd like to see answers prior to it coming up for action at the next meeting. I know we discussed it earlier, but to make sure.
And Wendy, you said you'll have figures hopefully before.
It'll be in the next packet.
Yes, I just put the basic 1% in here, so if you have visual, we'll have exact numbers for next meeting.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Under tab L, we have a draft truck ordinance. Some of you might recall, and I'll just summarize quickly, that we introduced an ordinance last year that was adopted by the city with regard to permitting for trucks over certain weights. It also eliminated trucks over another certain weight that could not even be permitted. There's been some discussion around this issue earlier, either late last fall or earlier this year. At the time, former council member Ben Blankenship and I believe Councilmember Huff had met with a group of people that own trucks or operate trucks or trucking companies, got some feedback. And then we, I understand, had another meeting just recently with that group. And the result of the feedback from those meetings is now sort of embodied in this truck ordinance that's in draft mode. And I'm going to give the floor either to Councilmember Iverson or Councilmember Huff if you want to give a quick summary on what we're doing or what you're proposing here. I think the two of you have now worked with this group, so. Want to say something?
Yeah, and I just want, because of the whole COVID thing, Ben and I never really got a chance to discuss what was going on in prior truck route meetings. So some of the concerns real quickly that came up with the current truck route, with the weight restriction for Bridge Street. And when we met with RL Trucking, it was discussed, upping the weight limit, like 20,000 pounds, 25 wheelers to 105.5, which would pretty much accommodate all their trucks. So it was 777, that goes back on, it's stated that this is more of a preferred route. It's a safer route for the truckers. They're big rigs that have the pilot cars, they'll still use the west exit. But it accommodates a safer route. This 777 ordinance does restrict truck traffic in front of the school, which everybody was in agreement. There's no need for little boys or other trucks going on Main Street. It's a narrow street. They don't want to have to deal with safety issues too with the school. So that was one of the big things we agreed on. Joy will lead her some more.
So what brought all this up was we were concerned about trucks turning left down here on the highway to the west exit. It was dangerous for the trucks and it's dangerous for any cars that might come in contact with the trucks. Also, the number of trucks that come through here, it was expensive for them to get them all stickered. And when the bridge was put in, one of the things the state was planning on was the trucks using the bridge. It wasn't the only thing, but that was one of the issues that the council and mayor at that time, it's already Bentley and Chris Bessie was on that. And that was one of the conversations they had with the state was that, then the trucks could go up 3rd Street and use the bridge. Because it's safer, there's no acceleration lanes coming out of the west exit, as everybody here is aware of, either direction. So basically, what we came up with was this. Hopefully all of you have had a chance to look at it. And we had in that meeting Todd, who told us, yes, this road built is capable of handling truck traffic. He says it's every bit as well built as the current truck route that is on state runaway. So that's not an issue, so we're not looking at that. He did put language in here for, let's say they want to go down Monson and do logging at the end of the road. There is language in here for smaller roads where trucks may need to go, and that they will pay fees for whatever is needed for the maintenance of the roads when they're going off the main beaten path. So what this basically does is get our trucks back going up Third Street and across the bridge, and just making sure that everybody stays safe. Are there any questions when you were looking at this? Do you have any questions about any of the wording in this?
I do on G, of section 2.3, the procedure. If you have multiple, people that have haul routes or that are using this, how are you going to, I guess, figure out who's gonna owe what for maintenance and things like that if there's multiple people, using, because it says that, shall make an annual inspection reports of the haul route and determine the amount of reimbursement for additional maintenance resulting from the hauling operation. And I mean, if you've got 20 different groups using it, how is that gonna?
No, what this is for is if somebody is gonna go out and log. This is roads that are not Third Street. These are other roads.
Other roads, okay.
These are side roads. If somebody goes out to the end of Monson and says.
So 2.3 is only side roads, not.
Right.
Yeah, it's not.
That's a procedure for somebody that's gonna use a road that isn't part of the truck route.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And to get, say, build a house.
So you would know who it was?
Yes, because they were coming and getting, building permits and everything, or logging permits or whatever. They'd be getting permits from the city already. And then, they would work with our public works director to decide what it's gonna cost to keep the road, you know, maintained during their project. Is that right, Todd?
Yeah, so normally we would go out there, we'd identify the haul route, like, okay, you're gonna haul from, down Beck Street up to Summit Road. We do like a video inspection of the road, the condition is before they haul, and they do their hauling. After they're done, we go back through video and say, look, here's a big alligator spot here, we're gonna have to pull up and it's gonna cost X amount of dollars. And they'll come through and we'll charge them that.
So
The cost of repair.
New language, we just wanted to make sure that when they're doing things off the main roads,
Mhm.
that they're paying for any maintenance that needs to be done.
And then J, it looks like, maybe that first thing should be city.
Yeah, it should be city, not county, so.
Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
The very first sentence.
Oh, Ring versus City, yeah. We need to change that word.
Yeah, we're not giving the county nothing.
I'm gonna say, I don't think you wanna pay the county for it.
Okay, Tom, make sure that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, how does the council feel about this?
So it gets rid of completely the requirement for them to pay, to come down the process.
Right. And they're already paying for tax, they're already paying county and state permits. And I did look at other cities, and, for trucks to drive through in the other cities around here, I'm not seeing, I looked at, Monty and Elma, Westport, I looked at 3 or 4 places, and they are not making trucks buy permits to drive through their cities on their city streets.
Do you ever do the, closures to large vehicles when it's the thaw and freeze?
We
That's
have,
in here, actually.
yeah, we never had done it. I thought we had it
I
in.
saw it in there, so that's why I didn't.
We've never done it. I thought we had it in an ordinance somewhere, but I couldn't find it anywhere, so I stuck it in here because that would be something we'd want to do, so.
During those times. Perfect.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments, feedback about this proposal? Again, I would recommend that you take this in, process it. I would like to put on the agenda for the next meeting for action, rather than just introducing it tonight and asking to vote on it. But I appreciate the work that Councilmember Iverson and Councilmember Houghton have done on this, and the work that was done previously as well, and the people from the community that have collaborated with us on this issue and given us good feedback good decisions and recommendations. So if you have any other questions, if you have any other concerns, otherwise, we're gonna proceed with this proposed language and have Chris Coker and his firm finalize it and get it into a format that we can present for action on our next agenda.
We'll have a clean version, yes.
My only other pet peeve
Yes.
is to capitalize public works director.
Yeah.
Grammar, please.
Did I not capitalize it?
It's that last page. It doesn't have capitalized.
Anything else on this issue? All right, thank you. Thank you again, Joy and Bryson, for your work on
Right
that.
about that. So that's the top of the next.
Under tab M, we have a budget amendment. And this is ordinance number 858. It's regarding the adoption of a supplemental budget for the calendar year 2020, amending ordinance 854. And this is with regard to our refinancing that we did. Because, and Wendy can probably explain this better, I'll give it a shot, and then she can fill my blanks if I get it wrong. But essentially, in a budget year, if you're gonna spend more than you budgeted for, you have to get a budget amendment. And because we paid off loans, we spent more money than we had budgeted. So we are amending our budget to reflect the fact that we paid off these loans and spent in excess of what we had intended to spend in our budget year. Does that make sense?
So that's why the sewer shows such a big difference between revenue and expenditure.
Right.
Like 2.2 million.
And
Does-
you wonder why we don't have a managerial.
I was like, boy, we did.
Does it show the revenue coming in that we've gotten?
We don't need to make a change as far as, on the budget itself, just the expense portion is the amendment.
You can have all the extra revenue you want.
Right, I just,
But
And it's just us,
mhm.
Just makes it funny here.
Yeah, it looks like you're spending more than you have on revenue on this, it shows.
so the increase is only the loan amount. There's, we didn't spend extra money. So any questions or comments, or we entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 858 for this budget amendment.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All right, this will be a roll call vote.
Councilmember Amesbury. Aye. Councilmember Hop.
Yes.
Councilmember Heller.
Yes.
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes. All right, ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Tab N is the May 2021 rate adjustment. So this is where we'll actually take action on this resolution. This is resolution number 733, as discussed earlier in our agenda. Any other questions or discussions, or we can entertain a motion?
Oh, let's pay our garbage bill. I make a motion.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 733. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? And the resolution is adopted. Thank you. Tab O, the Lindsay Joe Baum and Missing Children Awareness Month resolution. This is being introduced to align with the work that we're doing, as we were talking earlier about the Breast Cancer Awareness Month and the pink lights that we are showcasing on City Hall this month. When we came up with that idea and we decided to proceed with that, we had further discussion on what could we do with other months? How could we also spread some awareness and bring other things to the forefront of the community and to give them space in the community eye and bring awareness to some things. And one of the things that came up was bringing awareness to the still unsolved case regarding Lindsay Joe Baum, as well as other missing children. And hopefully you had time to read through this resolution. I want to thank Chris Coker, who helped to author this resolution. I thought it was very well written. I appreciated the data and the facts that he put into it, so thank you, Chris, for that. I think it is interesting and important for us to note the number of missing children here in our state. And the fact that this crime still goes unsolved is something that we would all like to see resolved. We would like to see the family have answers. And we definitely would like to see the person or persons responsible for this to be held accountable for their actions. So this resolution was created and is being proposed to the council that we would designate the month of July, which is the month in which Lindsay's birthday occurs each year. And so in collaborating with Ms. Baum, Melissa Baum, she opted for July and asked if we could utilize that month if we were going to do this. And so this would set aside the month of July as the Justice for Lindsay Baum and Missing Children Awareness Month. And it would allow the city to, we would feature lights on City Hall that will be the color of Ms. Baum's choice. And we will have a banner design that we will hang up there with regard to Lindsay Baum and missing children to create awareness around that. There will also be opportunity for public safety and public education around public safety. I don't know if any of you engage in this, but I remember as a child going to our local police department and having my picture taken and a description of me given, and so that if something ever happened to me, the police department would know immediately who I was and come for real. So things like that we could institute in the community and use these opportunities to promote that education around stranger danger and all the things that we have learned about safety and promoting that safety. And it would be done with honor and memory given to Lindsay and what happened to her. As I said, we all would like to know what happened and we would all like to have that resolved. And this would give us time as a city each year to reflect on that and to hopefully see answers come one day. So this resolution is submitted with, in humility for the family. We don't know the pain that they struggle with on a daily basis. I don't even pretend to understand it. I can't imagine how devastating it is. It's also presented in a fashion that we hope to evoke the opportunity to educate and to keep this issue alive and to make awareness front and center around this issue for at least 1 month of the year. I also like that it falls in concert with Bear Festival because I know that the group has been active around the Bear Festival and taking that opportunity to engage with the public at large. We have a lot of people in town during that time. So I think that having it coincide during that month is also. So any questions or comments about this? Or we entertain a motion to adopt this resolution and to designate the month of July each year as Justice for Lindsay Baum and Missing Children Awareness.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution, taking July, Lindsay Baum, Missing Children.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution, and this would be number 734. Any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table say aye. Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? And the motion is approved. Thank you. And we will make sure that Ms. Baum has an official signed copy of this resolution, and we will continue to work with her and any designee of hers on how to utilize this month each year to raise awareness around this issue. She and I have been in communication. We are connected via email, and I'm working directly with her on ways that the city can continue to support their efforts. And I will keep council apprised as we move forward, but we do have some very good ideas on the table. And I really, really do hope that we can find answers for them, and maybe something that we do will be the thing that sparks the idea or reminds somebody of something that they might not even realize they know. So thank you for your time and attention to this matter. And again, thank you, Chris, for drafting that resolution for us. Mayor, council comments. Any other comment from anyone on anything that we missed? Anything you want to add?
I had a couple other things with CARES. Are we going to see an amendment to add that 26,000 to that? Did you guys get an amendment for the CARES Act?
An amendment for what?
To add the additional dollars to the grant? wanted to change the effective date for the submittals. We had to approve an amendment, so I just didn't know if you guys had received one, because I haven't seen it on our agenda yet.
An amendment to what?
To increase the CARES allotment that we were given from Commerce.
I don't understand what we would amend, like the state amend what they're sending us or what we're eligible for. But we
Yeah, at
don't-
the county, we had to actually sign an amendment to receive that additional funding, so I just wanted to make sure we did that
Oh.
before October 30th, because it changed up the contract dates.
It's already signed.
Yeah, that, signing those contracts with the Department of Commerce, I don't believe requires council approval. Because.
I already signed it in September.
Yeah.
That's our police chief.
Yeah.
I can check, Chris, I think because of the emergency operation and this being emergency funding, I don't know that we needed council approval to sign that contract, the amended contract.
Well,
Right.
I think I agree with that, but it sounds like Keith already signed it anyways. Is that right?
I don't think we brought the first one,
We didn't.
so I
Yeah.
don't. Okay, I apologize if I am out of step, I can check.
No, I just knew that normally we approve contracts, so, and I just didn't know that
This
we
is,
had gotten.
these are
approved,
different,
so.
of a different nature because of the emergency operation, and even from Commerce, in working with them, they did indicate that, but, and the first ones we signed were when we weren't even meeting like this.
Yeah, when we did the first contract, if you want to call it that, with Commerce, I was assigned as the incident commander to sign any documents going forward. At that time, council agreed on that.
Okay, well, we'll check into it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we got it.
Okay.
And then the only other thing that I just wanted to note about CARES that and I did see Shannon Ramsey, who was the superintendent of schools, on earlier, but something that I've been looking into too was seeing if there was a CARES allotment that we could also help out the school in some way. The county is looking at giving something that is, the easiest way to use CARES money is to give to the schools, is what I have found out, because they were actually listed in the Commerce information, that they don't have to give us an application, we don't have to do an agreement with them. We are allowed to do a dollar amount per student to schools, because they know that schools have been highly impacted by COVID. And, our small community, of course, is the same, where we've been very impacted. A lot of students, they did Chromebooks for them, they did all these things, did all the school supplies for them this year, different things like that. And they did get a CARES allotment, but it wasn't enough to cover what they spent. And so that was just another thing that I wanted to bring up to council. That's another community type, aspect that you're allowed to do a per student allotment. And I think we have like around 300 students or something in our school. So it could even be a small, amount, but 5,000 or something to the school could mean a lot for them, especially they have their second levy at, as I'm sure you've seen around town up this year. And it's a really hard time to be going for levies with people. And so just any help that we are able to give schools, that's just another thing I wanted to bring up to council in case it was something you guys were open to spending a little bit of money to help the school out with the CARES money as well. So.
Do you know what the per student allotment is?
It can be up to, I believe, $500, but a lot of places are doing $50, or any allotment in there, but you are allowed to go up to that amount. And we just found, especially since the county got a lot more money, and so it was an easier method for them to get money out to the community to do it through the schools than trying to do a broadband or some type of technology grant, because the schools, obviously have had to deal a lot with getting hotspots out to students, getting them some way to do this virtual work. So
did the county already give money to schools?
they are looking at doing, I believe it's either $500,000 or $600,000 next week. But unfortunately, it's not very much for our school, just because our per student, we don't have a large student population, but it's still, I said every little bit counts, so I still think it's like between $10,000 and $15,000 that they get. So they're looking at all schools and private schools, is what the county's doing. I think it's $50 is what they do per student. So
Do you have any idea how many kids there are in our school? I'm looking it up on here.
I said, I think it's around 300. I did the darn spreadsheet and you think I could remember? I can look it up on OSPI and,
There's 318.
yeah, okay, I'm close. That was around 300, so yes.
Well, you didn't say the 18.
Yeah, I know. But just like I said, even if it's just a small amount, if it's something that we can do to help, just another idea.
Okay, that's pre-kindergarten to 8th grade.
And we can't do preschool, so it would have to be K, I think it said it has to be K through, eighth grade.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from council? Okay.
So I've heard no comments regarding the space partnerships like addendums, so nothing substantial has changed from the last edit. That was supposed to get delivered today. I think there's been a slight delay on it. So I don't have it available for you, but since they're pretty minor edits, I'm going to go ahead and assume that since I haven't heard any negative feedback from anybody, that I can proceed with the yes.
I trust you, Jerry.
We got consensus there. Anybody else?
Saturday, Summit Pacific's doing the record.
Yeah.
It stands right now, so that's been rescheduled. I think they're playing about 15 riders now instead of 50.
And it's starting at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Oh, well, I'll see you then.
I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna sign you up. I'm M to a Z.
I'll be down there too. I'm willing before to start.
Oh, very good.
My job is here.
I'm just sorry.
No, I'm not gonna lie, because I think they're just doing the 50 mile.
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing.
Well, I think we're still going westward.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think they're really doing the very end all that.
Yeah.
They just focus on the 50 mile. I did not sign up for that. You know my limit. My limit was I'm like 8 now.
I told Summit this is the earliest I would have gotten that since I retired.
Yeah, I gotta be on at 6:45. I think that horn blows at 7:30.
I'm supposed to be there.
So did the county apply for the community development block grant in September? The $8,800? Have they heard anything from that yet?
That's all public health, so I know that the commissioners approved the, application and the contract. But public health has not given an update
Okay.
on those funds. Unfortunately, I wish that they had a matrix for all of the COVID funds that are out there. There are so many different pots of money that are out there, like you saw for Greater Grace Harbor, you know, they've gotten different allocations for things. Commerce has put out a bunch of different programs, and that was one of the things that I said, I don't even know at the county level all the different funding sources that we have. It's crazy. It really is. I mean, that's what I said, is that we have different people doing all of the pots of money, and so it's hard because you want to make sure you're not duplicating efforts in all these different places. And you know, they have a certain money for the isolation and quarantine, you have a certain money for this, and a lot of it went to CAP to do like the LIHEAP program and different things like that, which, you know, hopefully people are taking advantage of. And the rent assistance has all been through that program. Yeah, and I did watch AWC, just in case you guys were interested. They had kind of a cool, just hour-long webinar video that was a recording of what other cities have done, even with some of their funds. And man, some people got really creative. So if you haven't watched it, it was really interesting to see. A lot of them are more touristy areas, so they were able to kind of do some things to help the businesses have more outdoor seating and, you know, some stuff like that. But it was a really cool, you know, kind of creative webinar if you get a chance to watch it.
Okay, the only reason I asked is because it's a grant that we could have applied for. It was for $8,800, but we opted in with the county, hoping they would get additional money and they can funnel it back to the city. So
Yeah, I would hope so.
And we outlined that very clearly.
yes.
Well, and yeah, I would sure hope so, because like you said, when you put that in, yeah, you want to make sure you get it now. Cassie Lentz is the kind of the social services.
Usually I had to know.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Cassie Lentz is
Yep.
is that
but it's worth doing a follow-up email, you know, just to kind of see where that's at, because as you know, public health is bombarded right now, and it would be very easy to be lost in the shuffle of everything that they've done. So I'll check in. Yeah, very nice.
Jenna touched on something, just a reminder to everybody, the AWC trainings are available to people, and especially for Chris, our new council member, there's some training that you have to do within 90 days of your appointment and becoming a council member. So if you want some insight on that or some assistance on identifying those, to make sure you have, like, there's a training on the Public Records Act and the OPMA and different things you have to do. So we'll make sure that you have access to AWC because you are a member through the council, and they have that training. It's all free, it's online. And,
There's all kinds of trainings on there. I took it and got my certification, with 30 credits. There's lots, really good trainings on there.
So we'll make sure you have a list of the ones we need you to do for sure, and then when you download the certificates that they provide, we'll give a copy of that to Wendy, so, because she keeps track of our training to make sure that we're on spot. So that reminded me when you mentioned the AWC.
Yeah, no, they have some really interesting ones out there. Now they're doing so much more virtual recordings. It's kind of nice because you can actually, you don't have to sign up to watch them while they're live. You can just watch them when you have time.
And then the last thing I just want to mention, Wendy provided us this copy. I don't know if you have seen it sitting in front of you. It's the budget timeline, like the calendar that they proposed. And you can see that they proposed adopting your budget on December 31st. So we backed up our timeline a bit because we don't really want to meet on New Year's Eve. So you can see the dates that Wendy wrote in here for us, kind of a guide of what we're doing and the process that we're following. And so you can see on October the 14th, we have the public hearing that we were required to have for this evening, and then we've got another one scheduled for the 28th and so on down the line. So she went ahead and noted that November 18th would be when we would be proposing hopefully our final budget, and maybe be able to take action that night. But if not, we would still have a December meeting to, carry out any action at that point. So we always back it up a little bit. Like I said, we don't want to meet on New Year's Eve to approve a budget. But it does give us that extra padding space. If something comes up and we run into an issue, we would have more time to hash that out. They wouldn't have to lock us in the room on December 31st and not let us out or anything like that. So just wanted to make mention of that and make sure you see it. It just gives you that overview of the process and the scheduling that we follow.
When are we gonna get copies of the expenditure requests? We kind of went over the revenues, but.
That's for the October 28th meeting, correct? I'm going to get a message for October 28th, so it'll be in the next packet.
Will we get them before that night or that night?
It'll be in the packet, and you get about a week before the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other questions, comments, or we entertain a motion to adjourn? Motion and second, all in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned. Do be sure to sign the vouchers.